Hey, my name is Ty King, and I'm the director of the Arkansas Podcast Collaborative. We're a nonprofit organization for podcasters, and what that means is, we give a lot of free resources to people who either want to start a podcast or maybe people who have had a podcast for a while, and then they've hit a slump and they don't know where to go from there. Lots of times that happens in podcasting. Most podcasts don't make it past 3 episodes, and so once you do that and you've grown to a certain height, sometimes you plateau. And it's hard to know where to go next without asking somebody who's been there or somebody who has been talking to the other people who have been there and talking to the professionals as well in the industry. So that's our part in what we do. We provide resources and we try to give as much help as we possibly can, but we're such a small team. And this is very much a passion project of mine, even though we're a legit nonprofit 501c3 organization. I started the first podcast festival for Arkansas back in 2022. And then I met with one of the other people who ended up co-founding with me, Karen, and we developed this idea of, we need to start this as a nonprofit. We both, had a lot of passion for nonprofits, and this is definitely somewhere where we could, be a major force to help people, but also to help Arkansas get ahead of the curve as far as like this new form of journalism that is rising in popularity. And so we gathered, Brittany, of course, a lot of you guys know, and then we assembled a board of 9 people, and they're made up of people who are in NPR and have been in that realm for a long time. They're in PBS. They're in all sorts of different forms of creating podcasts or working with podcasts in one way or another. And I think we have a pretty great board, and we put a lot of energy in this. We've put so much into this passion projects that, it's so hard to focus a lot of time on this whenever, there are just things that need to be funded, right? And so a lot of those times I find myself having to fund it myself out of my own pocket, which is fine, and it works for a while, but we're 3 years in, and, it's not a sustainable model. I was talking to the guys from Sounds Profitable, which is one of the major, podcasting news organizations, I would call them, and they said, we'll just be honest, and tell people what's going on. And so rather than pretending that we have all the money in the world or that we have, $1 million sponsors, like a lot of organizations do, it's just simply not true. I've been lucky enough to get us a few grants, which has been incredible. And they've helped with us traveling to Podcast Movement to get even more integrated with the podcast industry and to learn who the major players were, to develop those relationships and to bring them back to Arkansas. Ultimately, this benefits people who are in Arkansas. If you're a podcaster or you're a media creator and you're in Arkansas, we are out there doing things, trying to make it better for you in your future. And so what we sort of are looking at and what we're working on right now is, we're in the 3rd year of Arcast, which is the podcast festival. It's a 3-day event this year in Fayetteville. And so every year the festival has looked different. It's a different series of events. It's a different venues. It's a different dates. And then, so we're trying to find out what works, what doesn't work, condense it down to what does and what would be the most use for you guys. To help you in your endeavors of creating media or even getting started. But also, another thing that we're trying to do is create an environment that is prosperous, because podcasting itself is the 3rd, I don't know how to put it, highest rated, I guess you'd say, form of media right now. And that's because it includes so many different forms, from entertainment to journalism to just passing the time, and education, of course. So what Georgia has done for the film industry, if you guys don't know, if you pay attention to the credits after most movies, you'll see that there is a peach logo that says Made in Georgia. And what that means is that films have been, and film studios have been going to Georgia to film their movies, because Georgia is such a diverse sort of environment where you can transform it into anything, but also you can build stages, but also you can create any type of movie that you want in Georgia, either organically or in a studio. But they have fought to create a tax credit for anyone that films in Georgia and includes that logo in the end. Okay. So that's why Film Studio do that, because they get a lot of money taken off every year because they are filming in Georgia, right? What that does, and why Georgia wants that, is because it creates more jobs for people who are living in Georgia. Not only does it bring attention to the state, but also the people who are working as key grips, who are building sets, who are, doing everything from the catering to travel to, bussing around and working on the equipment and doing the technical stuff. All of those people live and work in Georgia, and they got that job because Georgia passed a law where you can get a tax credit for filming there. So what we want to do, and what I'm working towards, my overall passion for what we do, is to do that same thing in podcasting for Arkansas. There's no reason why we shouldn't. We have the talent. We have so many amazing colleges here that are producing such creative minds. And rather than tell them if they want to make something out of themselves in certain areas that they have to go and disperse themselves across the United States or the world to go find a job, we want to help make it easier for them to find a job doing what they love and creating right here in the state. We are taking Arkansas, and for once in history, look it up in history, Arkansas is always so far behind anytime a medium is created before they start establishing themselves in that medium. They always wait for everyone else to do it, and then they say, hey, maybe we should jump on board. So I've been preaching that same message ever since we started. But what we're doing is pushing Arkansas ahead of the curve in podcasting and the rise in popularity that this has taken on in the past few years. It's risen in leadership or in listenership, 20% every year. I'm not going to bore you with the numbers. All you need to know is that podcasting is amazing. It can do a lot of different things. It's growing. It's not slowing down. And if you don't believe me, you don't have to. It's fine. There are plenty of reports out there that you can look up. Please do your research. But if nothing else, look at what companies like HBO and Paramount are doing. So like the major film industries themselves, every time they put out a movie or a TV show, there's always a podcast that accompanies it. Right. So like take, for instance, The Penguin right now. The Penguin is a big, streaming show that's coming on Sundays on HBO Max. And then they have a podcast that goes along with it that lots and lots and lots of people are listening to. Okay. So what I want to talk to you guys about is there is such an opportunity here, not just for the state, but for creators themselves, for podcasters, and for a medium that is still sort of in its infancy. It's a long-term media that's going to continue to play out, just like the old black and white films, started off back in the early 1900s or even earlier. I'm not really sure what I do. I've seen some old black and white films, but look at where we are now in films, right? Podcasting is the same way. We're in that phase where it's kind of, I call it the Wild West, but where opinions aren't being muffled. Information is freely given. Education is widely available, and it's free to listen to. It's free to create, and it's free to consume. It's free to refer a podcast to somebody. Say, hey, I want to learn about how this works. And then you turn on a podcast that you see that's about that subject. I mean, it's a really great way to educate yourself, but also to be entertained. There's lots of comedy ones out there. There are lots of ones about government. There are lots of podcasts that are, coming from government organizations or even nonprofit organizations to talk about the things that they are, passionate about or trying to start, and maybe they're just trying to build, good, relations with the public. So they can also change laws. They can create conversations in areas where we've never dared to have conversations before. It changes the way that we communicate as a society. And these are all reasons why I love podcasting in itself. And it ties in so nicely with all these other things that are obviously here to stay, like, YouTube and Instagram, Reels that you're using on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. So video content is constantly being created. Audio content is constantly being created. Podcasting is kind of the best of those worlds. And you can create a lot of things from the podcast. But anyways, that's going a little down the rabbit hole with you. But a lot of these events that we've been having this year have had, sort of lower turnouts than we've expected from previous years. And what we ultimately need to do is just to hear from you guys and be like, what is it that you want to see? What would be the most helpful for you? What kind of events would be helpful for you? Would any events be helpful for you? What would you like to know? Would it be workshops? Would it be education or being connected to people in the industry? Or would it be resources like coaching? What would be the most useful for you? I really hope that we get more people to attend this year's RCast, the 3-day event that we're going to have in Fayetteville. Like I said, a lot of the times, just like last week, when we had the Halloween party with collaboration with Go Rogue Studio, there was 10 people that showed up, maybe me too. And I funded a lot of that. I bought the food. I was the only one that set up and then used our equipment. And, a lot of time and energy goes into these things. But we are such a small, nonprofit organization that we do need help and assistance, which is something I personally have a hard time asking for. So if you are moved and you see what it is that we're trying to work for and what we've been able to accomplish, like being on the cover of Arkansas Business Magazine, being on the cover of Arkansas Talk Business and Politics, the news stories that you guys are about to see that I've been doing interviews for, like we're bringing attention to podcasting. And I know there's over 250 different podcasts that are being created in the state that I know of. That's over 250 of you. So there is a population here of creators. We definitely want to continue to do what we're doing. And that requires trying to take a look of how do we make this sustainable, right? So if you are moved and you want to help us out in one way or another, here are 3 ways that you can help out. Number 1 is buy a ticket to RCast. Even if you're not there, buying a ticket shows interest. It also shows investment in our mission and vision. And it shows that podcasting is worth investing in Arkansas. It's showing other businesses and organizations and individuals that you guys are worth investing in. Number 2 would be absolutely sharing our services with someone else, whether you're sharing our social media or one of our posts or our website, arkansaspodcasters.org, or sharing the event page itself for RCast, letting people know, hey, these guys are out here. This is what they're doing. And this is how we're going to benefit. Maybe you would like to help support this. Number 3 is to just make a donation. You can always reach out to us on any of the platforms. Reach out to us through the contact form on our website, arkansaspodcasters.org. We're definitely happy to take either in-kind or monetary, donations. We always make use of a lot of these, anything that's given to us. Of course, we're very resourceful, if nothing else. So yeah, we do appreciate everything and all the support that we have gotten, over the past few years, which has been amazing. All the amazing opportunities, like going to Podcast Movement, and then when I went to podcast, the big podcast movement there in Washington D.C., and then met so many more, podcasters, and got interviewed by Black Magic, and it's so fun. It's so fun and amazing to tell people, it's amazing how many times I walked through that crowd and then I would get a random comment because I'm wearing, either the Arkansas sign on my hat for our logo, or I'm wearing the Arkansas Podcasters, shirt or something like that. And then people will walk by and they'll say, Whoopig. Like it's a secret password or something. And I'm like, hey, are you from Arkansas? What's your connection? Like, oh, no. I went to school at U of A. But that's my alma mater. I don't live there now, but like, that's really cool that you're in podcasting and I'm in podcasting. And I went to school there and now you're doing this for Arkansas, because they weren't doing that when I was there. So if you'd like to support us, like I said, please get a ticket to Arcast. If not, please share our stuff with someone else that you think would benefit from what we're doing. And then thirdly, donations are always welcome, whether it be, podcasting equipment or cameras or, money. The hardest thing for me to ask people for. I believe in this so much that that's why I feel like it's worth it to give so much time and money into this organization and to these events, and for booking these venues and for working out the partnerships. And I wish you guys could see how much is actually going on behind the scenes to make these things happen. They don't just happen on their own. Trust me. Yeah, that's worth a documentary on its own of all the meetings I have to have and the extra work I have to put on my shoulders to be able to make these things happen. But like I said, we definitely need your support. And then looking into 2025 and what does it look like and what we're doing and our services and how we operate. It definitely depends on how the ending of this year works out. So we've got 3 days coming up for Arcast. November 14th is the start of it. That's going to be the very first Arcast Awards. So the public has given us over, I think it was 5,000 of different nominations were put in. And then we took all those nominations, combined all the ones that were duplicates, and then we put out a poll, and that's open right now until November 1st, where you can vote for your favorite podcasters across 30 something categories. And so on November 14th, we will announce the winners. And that comes directly from you guys and from the community. The community votes for who wins each category. So the people with the highest vote, it's pretty simple. The people who get the highest vote in each of the category, that's the winner for each category individually. So it's over 30 different awards. I am hand making these awards. And I can't wait to show you guys how they're coming out. So my first time working with wood and acrylic and all these other things, but they're turning out great. So just another thing that I do behind the scenes of trying to make this as much of a personal and invested, effort, is hands making each one of these awards for the winners, and then having presenters to, give them out, and letting that podcaster just feel honored that someone actually sees and hears their content and recognizes the work that they're doing. November 15th is a full day of speakers. These are people that we are bringing in from across the country. We've got podcasters from LA, Colorado, New York, Dallas, several other states, but they're not just random people that we've drawn in. These are extremely talented people who have worked with some of the biggest podcasting production companies in the industry. Like, if you were going to hear directly from someone who could give you the best advice, it's going to be these people. I'm extremely proud of our guest list that we have this year. And I'm really excited to see how it all pans out. We've got amazing people in Northwest, like, Charlie Bradshaw, who's helping so much in putting this together. Thank God. And really grateful for her and the work that she's doing. And of course, the Fayetteville Library sponsoring us and allowing us to have that venue of their big main event space, which is incredible. So it's going to be a great year. It's going to be a really great year for ARCast, the biggest one we've done yet. It's going to be very, very special, very specialized, and very targeted as far as the amount of content that we're putting out there. It's not just how do you start a podcast type of thing. We've got how to grow your podcast from a newsletter, how to get integrated into one of those big podcast production companies like Wondery, and a lot of different areas that you guys are definitely going to benefit from learning from. If you don't know who the key players are in the industry, like that's a great time to come and learn who they are, and then also meet them and get your name, heard and recognized by those people, right? No better way to break into an industry than to know who the big ones already are in that industry. And we're bringing them to you. So ARCast is going to be something to surely be at. November 16th, which is our final day. We've got some more workshops, some hands-on things, but we're going to end with a podcast pitch contest. And the prize package for this thing is insane. It's sponsored by Dystopia, and they're going to give the winner a lifetime subscription to their premium package of their podcast hosting, which their podcast hosting platform is crazy. It does a lot of different things. You can sell merch directly from the podcast hosting company. You can integrate posts into your social media, and there's a lot of different other things that they continue to grow and to grab and to add to their platform. It's incredible. But not only that, but you'll also get, of course, podcasting equipment and services. Riverside has done a lot of really great things, and they're sponsoring us this year. That's another thing. Like the sponsors that we've gotten this year are incredible. They're all in kind, but it's incredible that these huge players in the podcasting industry are saying it's worth our time to even partner or to allow you to use our logo on these events. And so I'm incredibly grateful for what we've done. We're meeting amazing people. Met Townsend, I think, for the first time in person when she came to speak for the Little Rock event, and loving her podcast. But yeah, we meet amazing people along the way, and we're bringing these events to you. If you want to support us, please buy a ticket to ARCast. And you can find those on our website, arkansaspodcasters.org, or you can refer us to someone you think would benefit, or make a donation. And so we would really appreciate it. It does so much. Like every little dollar does a lot for us. I can make it work. Believe me, I'm very resourceful in that way. These small grants that we've been able to get, I've stretched them all the way out. Like, have you ever taken a rubber band and walked from one wall to another, but a nail in it in one wall and then walked to the other? That's what I'm doing with the money that we have. So, ArkansasPodcasters.org. If you want to find a way that you can help support us, we would love that. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who's been showing up to all of our events and contacting us and getting these conversations started, or even started a podcast with us, or came into our studio and checked it out, or went to one of our podcaster meetups, or any of the millions of things and the amount of energy that we're putting out there. It's always good to see a return of a smiling face and someone that appreciates it, or seeing that they're benefiting, that someone's actually benefiting from this. And we're seeing lots of those faces. So that's something I'm incredibly grateful for. So yeah, ArkansasPodcasters.org. We hope to see you at ARCast. Thank you guys.